So these are just my leftover plants that I haven't planted yet. They may not even get planted, but I'm keeping them watered because I might plant them later today. And look who I found in there, just chilling in one of the slots. Oh my gosh, how funny is that? This guy's just loving life right now. How you doing? Hey, welcome back to the food forest, everybody. Today we are just gonna do kind of a bit of a chill tour. Just like that guy, it's gonna be chill today. So the food forest is really waking up. This year I'm actually letting the rhubarb go to flower because they look really nice. Typically you'd pull the flowers off and that'll make the plant continue to make stalks and leaves. But we don't really eat that much rhubarb. I mostly use it as a drip edge extending tree, kind of plant them around trees like the pear. Over there you can see the rhubarb here. The pear, I kind of put them at drip edges. We've got the serviceberry here with rhubarb flowers there, so there's rhubarb underneath it. And that way the rains that fall down hit the big rhubarb leaves and it'll pull the rain back towards the tree, extending the drip edge. Pond is really coming to life. Here's Wildflower Hill from the top. Not a whole lot in bloom right now. You can see there's lots of goldenrod that has volunteered. So these varieties of sea buckthorn here have the bigger berries, smaller thorns. That one there is a Chaskaya, and this one here is a Hergo. And you can see that these are really wanting to live, as sea buckthorn are wont to do, kind of protecting this pawpaw from any browse with little thorny plants all around it. So good for that, but they are spreading out. So I'll be able to take root divisions of these and sell them or propagate them elsewhere. But this is one of the healthiest berries on the planet. It does want to spread, and it will spread. So you got to keep your eye on it, but very valuable plant. And you can see that we planted it in an area where we can capture the spread. And I can put a comfrey border here so that it'll kind of block it underground and also shade it out. It'll get up over all these little seedlings and they won't have a chance to really grow. And here's a serviceberry putting on some fruit. The birds just adore these. Here's some good King Henry right at the wetland filter with some succulents and our fig. So our fig actually did not make it through the winter this year. So I'm all for showing successes and failures. This one survived at least one winter, maybe two, and then didn't survive the last one. And then we got some Lambsquartered right here. This is one of my favorite edibles. Many people call this a weed, but it's super nutritious and it's very good. Great little salad snack. Got a little family there. Loving the wetland filter. Another guy right in here. Where'd he go? There he is. Now, for anyone new and is wondering why I'm leaving all this in here, it's because the pond is made with limestone, and I believe the limestone is actually starting to leach into the pond a bit, and it raises the pH with the calcium, makes calcium carbonate. And I have a pH now of just over 8 in the pond, and I want to get that back down to 7, and you do that a couple ways. You can glaze the pond with manures, but because we swim in this, that's not really an option. We don't want to get giardia. So what we're actually doing is allowing some of the plants from last year. This is water hyacinth, which is obviously very scary and dangerous where it's warmer, but here our winter kills it, so it's not invasive at all. And we're actually letting it decompose. And there's duckweed in here, and then a little bit of algae. And what we really want to do is have the carbonic acid from the CO2 released from the decomposition of the water hyacinths go into the pond, and then it flows out and will hopefully help combat the pH issue. And once all those fish are a little bit bigger, they're going to start putting out way more pH, and that will balance it a lot more naturally. So I won't have to worry about it too much in the future, just really right now while the fish are small and the CO2 load is fairly small correspondingly. And I could fix that issue with chemicals, or even natural organic chemicals, but I don't want to be putting inputs in here if I can help it. I kind of would prefer to do the natural approach. This is just what happens in a natural pond. Some things fall into the water. Not everything gets removed. You've got animals living in the water, and all those things put carbon into the water, and that's part of the natural balance. So we're all about the natural balance on this channel, as you guys know. We're going to try to strike it in the pond. It just might take a bit longer to do it the natural way, but I'm convinced that we can. Maybe we'll go down and take a look at the pawpaws. So here's the pawpaws. The leaves have just started coming out. The flowers are just finishing up, so we'll see if we got any fruits yet. I don't come down and manually pollinate because I want to make sure that that's an action I need to take before I do it. So I'm going to leave it another couple years, just see if we get natural pollination. But for now, we've got flowers on this one, and this one over here is the one that really needs to pollinate with it, and I don't really see any flowers. Sorry, I'm probably way too close. So we may or may not get fruit set this year. I'll follow up on that maybe in a month or so. And we've got a load of other pawpaws in this area, but they're kind of being swarmed by the comfrey. So we will just step those over and just release a bit of light to those pawpaws so they don't get strangled. So here's the lower swale, and look at this wall of comfrey. Just doing an amazing job edging that bed out and protecting everything on it. And we'll just step up to the uphill side of the swale, and you can kind of see the cut right down there. And it's just a trench, then a berm, and everything's planted on the berm or just slightly downhill of it. And then all the water that wants to run from this part of the land comes here, gets caught in that trench, and stops and soaks in. Okay, here's the new area, and we kind of set it out to a couple peaches, peach, peach, peach. And these are going to be the core trees around. And then we've got berries like buffalo berry, sea buckthorn, hascaps, and strawberries are coming out over. It's going to spread out all here. We've got lupin and a bunch of flowers planted in as well. And people are always asking what kind of peaches I have. So we've got Flaming Fury here. And then we've got Veteran right there. This one here I think is a Frost. So this one's a Frost. And if you have peach leaf curl, this one is supposed to be resistant to peach leaf curl. And then these big ones here are my first ones, and those are Contender, and those are fantastic. And actually, for those who don't know what peach leaf curl looks like, this is it here. So this is the Veteran. So if you have peach leaf curl in your area, I would say stay away from Veteran. And you can just pull all of these off. You can do things like spraying copper sulfide. But I find that if you just pull them off, the peach leaf curl is really bad in the spring, and then it's fine in the summer. The peach leaf curl doesn't hurt the tree, aside from the fact that it hurts some of the leaves. So you don't have to be afraid of losing the tree to peach leaf curl. It just might struggle a bit because it's going to lose quite a few of its photosynthesis batteries, these leaves, or I guess more of an engine than a battery. And you can see that this one's really bad. I don't take these and drop them because it's a fungus that causes this. So I'll get rid of these somewhere else. But right next to it, this is the one that says it's peach leaf curl resistant. And I would say it looks like it is. Hasn't rained here for a while. I want to be careful touching it. I don't want to spread. Hasn't rained for a while, so the leaves are curling in a bit. It's just a little dry. And then here is the Reliance Peach. And this one is pretty resistant. There is some curl up here. But for the most part, that one's been pretty great. Sorry for swinging the camera. Here is the Flame and Fury, and there is some curl on this one. But I would say not anywhere near as bad as the Veteran. So I would say the Veteran is the really one, the one you gotta maybe avoid. Maybe go with Frost. So here's a bunch of lupin that I spread as a nitrogen fixing ground cover. And here's the main crop of this time of year. It's the wine cap mushrooms. We had a whole bunch of people over for a board game night and took them around, showed them the property. There's a couple people who are really interested in the wildlife sanctuary aspect of it, sustainability. So I thought I'd show them around, and they thought that this was the coolest thing ever. And we gave them a big bag of mushrooms to take home with them, and filled a basket full. And then I had mushrooms for lunch the next day, and mushrooms again. You can see an elderberry cutting that's doing well. And it's just one patch. We've probably pulled out several $100s worth of mushrooms in the last maybe 3 days. And these ones, I just couldn't get to them. I just couldn't eat them all. There's just too many of them. I could probably sell them at the bottom of the driveway or take them to a store, but man, I am just so busy right now. We've got kids in baseball now this year. So this summer is going to be probably the busiest summer of my life. Try to do some of these videos. They're going to be probably more like these walkthroughs. This here is an elderberry cutting that I made, and I took a bit of a bigger section of a plant, and then I did cuttings with most of it and put the root ball here with maybe 2 sticks, and this thing is really done well. There's another wine cap patch that I missed, and our roses here. This is Rosa rugosa, so we've got roses. These are great medicinal. You make teas with them. You can eat the rose hips. Fantastic and very underrated plant. And obviously the bees just adore it. I'm right in the middle of the food forest here because I did take a bunch of mushrooms from here. For some reason, this lupin mix has really liked this area here. Done really well. This hascap here is a hascap cutting. And it just looks so healthy. Looks great. Got something trying to live in this. I'll just let that continue to live. And that ground cover is really coming up. You can see there's always garlic that I spread and plant and then forget about. So this is what garlic will do when you forget about it, you don't find it. And that's fine though, it'll still act as an aromatic barrier and confuser to pests. Here's a currant. This one here is, a black currant actually, I believe. It looks like a red, but the berries are just small. This one is the black. Then this is that dog strangling vine. So we have this everywhere. It pops up once in a while, especially in the spring. And I just try to kind of chop it and drop it. So this is how you handle your invasive weeds. I know that they just went to flower and they're just about to set seed. So if I get them right now, I can chop them, drop them, and not worry about them reseeding in the area. That's the critical time you want to catch stuff, right before they put seeds on. So this winter was pretty rough for quite a few trees with the rabbits and the cold temps. This is a persimmon that I didn't think would make it, but it actually is growing new shoots. And if you look, the graft is back here, and this is the new stuff. So this is all actually coming out of the scion wood, the good genetics. So that's, I think, good news. I think that one might survive. Yeah, so roses right here, a few more. It's nice when they start coming out. Here the grapes are getting up over the trellis this year, so they're actually going to hang down. The chickens are going to be right where I'm standing, so we'll be able to cut and drop some of these grapes and drop them right down for the chickens. The ground cover for the grapes is garlic and strawberries. Great ground covers because they just spread so much. And that'll creep right into the chicken pen, and they'll be able to peck at the edges of it but not get all of it, so that it'll keep creeping in. A constant food source for them. And then on the back side of the post is cold hardy kiwi growing up this trellis, and that there's one at that post as well. There's one right here as well. And we'll be able to get that growing up over, and we'll be able to pull those off as well. Same idea, food for the chickens that are going to go right under here. So here's the annual bed, not a whole lot going on. Potatoes in the buckets aren't really popping out yet. So we basically flood these in the morning. There's holes in the bottom, and then they'll just drip out all day. We've been eating a lot of this Perennial Sorrel. I know I've probably mentioned it every time I do these videos, but it's just so good. So we got that from Richter's Herbs, and that is a sorrel called Profusion Sorrel, and I believe it's their named variety, and it's fantastic. So I was a little afraid that these beds might be a little bit too hot, that the compost that we got from the city was very dark, which means it was anaerobic for a while, which is no surprise. So we kind of turned it and got air back into it. Most studies will say that after about an hour or two after you turn compost, the aerobic bacteria will outcompete the anaerobic bacteria. So we did that first, but we did put it on and it was pretty hot. So I was a little afraid that this year the garden might kind of suffer a little bit and it'd be a little too hot, but it looks like it's okay. Plants might be struggling a little bit, but regardless, I wanted to do the long-term plan, the thing that's best for this area long-term. And if the plants struggle a little this year, that's totally fine. But long-term, this is going to be a very fertile garden because of that. So we'll see how it goes. So far, actually, everything's looking all right. And I like to just kind of pop in here and prune off the little suckers before they get too bad. This one's already putting on a tomato, so we'll pull that off. That one doesn't need to be making a tomato yet. We don't want it spending all its energy making tomatoes when it's still that small. We want it getting its photosynthesis battery up. More leaves. The more leaves it has, the more tomatoes it'll produce later on in the season. We added some cauliflower in here, and then some sugar snap peas that are starting to pop up. We'll train those back and let them attach onto the trellis and pop up. I know I'm probably far behind many of you, but we're pretty cold climate up here, so this is how big our cauliflowers are right now. And then here's some garlic planted last fall, so this will be ready to harvest actually fairly soon, probably in the next month or so. So that's it, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. And just remember, for your asparagus, you got to stop planting, you got to stop picking it after a while. You only pick it for about a week or two, and then you let it go and become ferns, and you let it collect photosynthesis that it's going to then use to put back down in the roots next season, so you get a nice harvest for next year. Don't keep picking it.